All my haters got pronouns, green hair, BLM t-shirts, fully vaccinated in a mask, scared to breathe air. All my haters woke, all my haters woke. All my haters woke, all my haters. All my haters like to burn flags, protest, wear drag, no offense. All my haters liberals and they ain't making no sense.
All right, tonight I want to talk about Iran. But to understand Iran today, we actually have to start somewhere where people forget. Before it was Iran, as we know it today, it was Persia. And Persia wasn't some minor country somewhere on the edge of history. For thousands of years, it was one of the most influential civilizations in the world. That was the land of poets like Rumi, Hafez, and Sadi, a culture known for its art, architecture, philosophy, science, and trade. Persian cities were filled with vibrant bazaars with spices, silk, jewelry, carpets, and craftsmanship traveled across global trade routes. Persian carpets became legendary across the world. Travelers described the region as colorful, sophisticated, and deeply cultured. Persia was a place where knowledge, poetry, trade, and beauty were part of everyday life. Fast forward to the mid-20th century. Iran was trying to bring that ancient civilization into the modern world. The country was ruled by Mohammad Reza Shah Pahlavi. The Shah had a vision. He wanted Iran to become a modern, powerful nation aligned with the West. The period became known as the White Revolution. Education expanded. Universities grew rapidly. Women gained the right to vote. Industries developed. Oil revenue fueled economic growth. Tehran in the 1960s and 70s looked like a rapidly modernization capital city. Universities, engineering, school, medical schools, music scenes, nightlife, international companies, too much for the world. Iran looked like a country moving towards the modern future. But modernization doesn't always move the same speed as tradition, and resentment began to grow. Some religious leaders believed Western culture was eroding Islamic identity. Others believed that Shah's government had become corrupt and authoritarian. One of the loudest critics was his cleric named Ruhollah Khomeini. Khomeini openly attacked the Shah's reforms. He accused the government of corruption. He accused the Shah of selling Iran's dependency or independency to the Western powers, especially the United States. In 1963, protests broke out. The Shah's government cracked down. Khomeini was arrested and eventually exiled. First to Iraq, later he moved to France, living outside of Paris. Now, here's where something's interesting is happening. Even though Khomeini was 1,000 miles away from Iran, his influence inside the country actually grew stronger because from the exile, he began recording speeches. Those speeches were copied onto cassettes and smuggled back into Iran. Think about that. This was before social media, before internet, before smartphones. Cassette tapes became revolutionary messages. Students copied them. Mosques played them. Markets passed them around. The real engine of movement was the universities. Now think about that. What's happening in America in universities now? Students spread those recordings across campuses. Ideas move through young people first. And when you study revolution, you start seeing a pattern. Ideas often became just news traveling the campuses. They spread through youth movements, and then they move outward into society. Now, I'm not saying every campus movement today is the same, but history does show influence spreads. First ideas, then narratives, then movements. By the late 1970s, protests were spreading across Iran. Students, workers, religious leaders, millions of people in the streets. The Shah's control collapsed in January of 1979. The Shah left Iran. Shortly after that, Khomeini returned. Millions and millions welcomed him home. The monarchy collapsed. Iran began the Islamic Republic. Too many people, it looked like a revolution of hope. But revolutions don't always end the way they begin. Power consolidated quickly, revolutionary courts were created, opponents were arrested, many were executed rapidly at trials. Speech became restricted, oppositions became dangerous. For many Iranians, the revolution that promised liberation created a new form of control. Then came the moment that permanently changed the relation with the United States. In 1979, militants seized the U.S. Embassy in Tehran. 52 American diplomats were taken hostage. They were held for 444 days. From that point forward, Iran was no longer viewed as a partner in the region. It became one of America's most serious geopolitical adversaries. But Iran's strategy didn't stop at its borders. Over the following decades, the regime expanded influence through proxy groups across the Middle East, funding weapons, training, logistics. Instead of confronting enemies directly, Iran supported organizations that could act on its behalf. Now, before we go any further, it's important that we look at something that often gets overlooked. For decades, attacks against Americans have been linked by investigators and courts to the organization supported by Iran's regime. In 1983, a suicide truck bomb destroyed the U.S. Marine barracks in Beirut. 241 American service members were killed. Investigations later connected the attacks to Hezbollah, a militant organization backed by Iran's Revolutionary Guard. In 1984, another bombing targeting the U.S. Embassy Annex in Beirut. 24 people were killed. Investigators again linked the attack to Hezbollah networks supported by Iran. In 1996, a massive truck bomb struck the Kabar Towers housing complex in Saudi Arabia. 19 American service members were killed. A U.S. federal court later concluded that the attacks were carried out by Hezbollah, with involvements tied to Iranian officials. During the Iraq War, U.S. military officials reported that Iranian-backed militia groups were supplying advanced roadside bombs known as EFPs, explosive form penetrators, weapons responsible for significant casualties among the coalition forces. This history matters because when policymakers deal with Iran today, they're not starting with a blank slate. They are looking at decades of complex proxy warfare and regional influence. And then there is a nuclear issue. Uranium enrichment is where things get technical because the numbers do matter. Natural uranium contains less than 1% of isotope needed for nuclear reaction. For civilian nuclear power plants, uranium is usually enriched to around 3 to 5%. That's reactor fuel. Weapons-grade uranium is around 90%. 90% enrichment. That's the level associated with nuclear weapons capability. So when you hear numbers like 20%, 60%, 90%, those numbers matter. Iran was enriching uranium to around 60%. And there is essentially no civilian energy reason to enrich uranium to 60%. 1% reaches that level, once it reaches that level, most of the difficult technical work required to reach weapons grade was already completed. The distance between 60 and 90% is much shorter than the distance formed from natural uranium to 20%. That is why the international community watches those numbers so closely. There have been negotiations, sanctions, deals, delays. Critics argue that some of those negotiations may have simply bought time. Time to develop infrastructure, time to expand missile programs. Iran has also been developing ballistic missile capabilities of traveling longer distance across the regions. From my perspectives, or from the perspectives of security analysts, this is a combination of enrichment capabilities, missiles development, and regional proxy network creates a serious concern. There are reports that strikes of Iranian facilities had crippled parts of the nuclear program. But there are still many unknowns. Did the strikes destroy everything? Did equipment get moved beforehand? Were additional facilities already under construction? We simply don't know. And that's the reality of internal intelligence. Governments negotiate while preparing other strategies at the same time. And when intelligence suggests immediate threats, presidents sometimes have to make decisions very quickly. Under Article 2 of the Constitution, the president has the authority as the commander-in-chief to respond immediately to threats to our national security. Sometimes those decisions must happen in minutes, not months. Now, I want to end this with something important. These are my final thoughts, my beliefs, okay? The Iranian people themselves are not the enemy. Many Iranian civilians have protested their own government for years. Some of them are risking their lives for freedom that we already have. And when you look at Iranian communities, both inside Iran and around the world, many of them want the same liberties that people everywhere else want: freedom, opportunity, future without fear. In my view, there are 3 reasons the world confronts Iranian regime. First, to prevent what could become a catastrophic threat in the nuclear capabilities and the regional conflict collide. Second, to create possibilities that the Iranian people themselves may someday choose a different path for their country. And third, because Iran's regime plays a major role in a larger geopolitical competition involving global powers like China. And that's the reality of the geopolitics. What we see publicly is only part of the picture. What governments say and what governments do are often 2 very different things. History gives us clues. Patterns give us warnings. But sometimes the truth behind global events is uncomfortable, complicated, and not everyone wants to hear it. I made this video just to give you some information. I think it's important that you know the history, that you know what's really going on. So you just don't listen to corporate media, because corporate media is not going to be truthful to you. See, understanding the reality may be uncomfortable, but it is necessary. And we shouldn't make the same mistakes we've made for years, ignoring it. Because ignoring reality has never made the world safer, and that is why you can't handle the truth. This is Sergeant O, and if you like this, go to my YouTube page. Please subscribe, like, share. You guys have a good night.
47 years of waiting, it's beyond words.
This is an incredible moment. Having freedom for the country is just amazing.
The people of Iran are on a mission to have freedom, and all the diaspora of Iranians over the world are chanting and excited because we see freedom at hand.
USA is the hero of the history. God bless you.
The hope for the Iranian future is regime change. Regime change, and we will be free. After 47 years, we're gonna be free, finally.
The way it looks like, Iran's gonna be free and everybody gonna go back.
I have hope, hopefully, and I believe God. God is in control.
My kids get to see a free Iran. And my entire life, I'm an Iranian immigrant. I've known Iran under the reign of Khomeini, where we were oppressed and my parents left the country so that my sister and I could have a free life.
This is a very special time, and this is a very good day.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.